They don't want what we know out there.
How a person can go from really almost nothing to becoming a millionaire by owning rental properties.
He would always buy these flip houses, and I just remember thinking, this guy is crazy. Why would he buy that house?
In the past decade, there's been a huge surge in the peer-to-peer short-term rental market.
Become an insider. So you have to know the rules before you get the game.
Every second counts. So make every second count.
Welcome to the Real Estate Jam. Whether you're just beginning or the best of the best, we're glad you're here. We will share successes, failures, and strategies for the action-taking real estate investor. And now to your hosts, JD and Melissa.
Hey guys, welcome to the Real Estate Jam podcast. I'm JD, and back off a hiatus is my wonderful co-host.
Hey, Melissa. Hey, thank you for joining us today.
Awesome. We got a pretty good show today. I think it's going to be filled with a lot of information, especially for you guys out there looking to do fix and flip and just start down that crazy path of dealing with contractors and all that other stuff. We have Viktor Jiracek on today. Viktor, thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me. Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah, awesome. So Viktor's the founder, CEO of Sell Your Gainesville Home Today. And he's a pretty accomplished investor looking to do about 30 flips this year, did 25 the year before. He's done short-term rentals, long-term rentals, fix and flip, wholesale. He's got a wealth of knowledge, and we're going to try to pry some of it out of him today, hopefully.
So thanks for being on with us. So you're kind of our neighbor over here in Florida. So we know you're doing the Gainesville. Do you strictly keep your buy box within Gainesville?
Yeah, for the most part, yes. So I do Gainesville, Florida. I do Alachua County. I go maybe outside of that a little bit if it's a good deal, but typically like to stay in Alachua County. So that's just where I've been. I just like the local stuff. It's really nice if I need to do something, so I just drive 15 minutes versus having to drive a couple hours or take a flight. So I've just been doing a local. I don't think I've really saturated the market, to say the least. Like I can probably be doing anywhere from like 50 to 100 flips. And like that's when I'll be really maxed out.
Well, what's the size of your metro area? What's the population of that area?
For just Gainesville, the city, it's about 130,000. So.
All right. Well, I have a bunch of questions.
Yeah. Great.
All right, cool. So first, we'd like to hear how you got started in this and, what your background is.
Yeah, no, for sure. So I was working, I went full time in real estate and flipping about 3 years ago. And before that, I was kind of working like a corporate job. It was healthcare. I was a home health administrator. So I kind of help run a healthcare company, kind of office manager type thing. Just quickly realized like, hey, this isn't for me. Like, hey, I'm not enjoying it as much as I should. The pay isn't where it should be. There's a lot of different factors there. And always had the real estate bug. Like it was always in my mind, like, hey, it was always like, let me do X and then next thing is real estate. Let me do this thing and the next thing is real estate. And I eventually realized, because it was in my head, where you have to have money to do real estate. And that's not necessarily true. There's ways to get creative. But that was always in my head. And at a certain point I realized like, hey, let me just get into this real estate thing and see what happens. So basically got connected to a friend of a friend. Was able to get started. I actually started a wholesaling. So my first two deals were wholesale, and then I went into fix and flip. So first wholesale deal I made $3,000. Second one made $3,500, and then just really got into fix and flipping and really enjoyed that. And happy to talk about that journey. But that's the rough story, and that's where I'm at today.
Awesome.
How do you find your deals? That's always a big question for every investor.
Yeah, so about half my deals come from wholesalers. About half I source on my own. Sourcing on my own is like cold calling. I have a little website, getting some leads through there, like referrals. It's just kind of a mishmash for how I source my own deals.
Yeah. You're doing cold calling? Is that your only direct to seller marketing that you're doing right now?
I guess so. I guess that's, the only like outbound. Like the inbound is the website. Like I've, I started my SEO stuff like July of last year, and I've just really been putting a lot into it. It's been working. Like it took some time, and now it's starting to, pay dividends.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And get some leads consistently and get some deals consistently.
Yeah. And okay, so let's maybe, if you don't mind sharing with us your process on that, right? So somebody comes to your website, they get there through Google AdWords or whatever the case is, and they, I assume, fill out some sort of form that says, "Hey, I'm considering selling the house." Do you have a lead intake? Are you fielding those phone calls? Are you taking those leads in and calling them back immediately? What does that process look like during the acquisitions portion of your business?
Yeah, sure. So it's typically SEO specific. So I don't do any AdWords or anything like that. It's more like people search some term like, "Hey, I need to sell my house fast in Gainesville." I typically pop up. I'm typically, first couple spots. I'm definitely first page, typically first couple spots. They click on the website, they look at some information. Either they call me directly and I answer the phone, or they they fill out a form and I get their form and then I can contact them. But right now it is me. I'm not at that big of volume where I have to have someone handle that. That's probably going to be my next hire. Because I already have like a property project manager. So she helps me like run the renovations and pay everyone and make sure it gets done. And then probably my next hire. But honestly, I'm not doing that much volume where I need to hire that. It's not like I'm swamped day to day. So that's the rough process though.
Okay. And then what does your buy box look like? What kind of deals are you doing? Are you doing, pop top rehabs? Are you doing, foundation problems? What is what you're looking for and what you're comfortable doing as far as fix and flip?
So we do houses like single family, condos, townhomes, mobile homes. So that's what we typically do. I'm really just strictly the numbers. So I've done foundation, I've done cosmetic, I've done like full rehab. It's all about the numbers. I just typically stick to like 70% rule. With the market being a little hotter nowadays, I maybe go a little bit higher, but it's typically like my best ones are 70 to 75%. And that's pretty much it. And, just try to keep it lean, and it's all the numbers. Like I've done foundation, I've done mold, I've done flood zone. Like I've done all these like different iterations. I'm not afraid of it, especially since I've done them all. But it's just, as long as there's a spread and, there's a buffer, then I'm good.
Right. What's that minimum deal requirements that you have as far as like, some of the investors that we talk to say that they want to make at least 25 grand on a flip. Some of them say they need a 30% ROI. What does that look like for you? What makes it worth your time?
Yeah. So I'd say for the average flip, 30K is the goal. If it's very cosmetic and we're confident the number's, probably 20K is the minimum. But typically about 30K is kind of what we're looking at. But, if it's quick, like let's say you clean up and you list it and you can make 20,000 off of it, then I'm fine with that. Yeah. And those, for your listeners, those might seem like big numbers, like, whoa, 30,000. Then you have to realize, like, what if something goes wrong? What if it takes longer to sell? What if there's doesn't sell for as much as you want? What if there's additional repairs that you missed? So I've seen a lot of my deals, like it starts at 30,000 and it goes maybe to 10,000 really quickly because of things going wrong and unexpected things. And that's all a part of the game.
Yeah, and that's definitely a gross profit, not the net profit. One of the things that we like to talk about is that everybody thinks that those big numbers come in, but really that's not counting. If you're going to work on something for 6 months, you're going to pay your rent, your gas, your everything else, all your business expenses come out of that gross profit. And so at the end of the day, you worked on a project for 6 months or 4 months or whatever it is, and you made about $1,500 a month doing it. And it's not as great when it comes to numbers as it looks on paper or looks on HGTV.
Right.
And that's been this year, our love for sure is to rehab too. But this year it's been that it didn't make financial sense to us to do it because of the wholesale fees we've been able to get.
Yeah. Yeah. So, for a long time when we were wholesaling in Alabama, our average wholesale fee was around $5,000 to $7,000. Nice. And we decided, that's low. We were able to do more volume, but it is quite a bit lower. Once we got over here to Panama City and we're able to see, like right now, our average is closer to a $30,000 wholesale fee. Awesome. And we leave a lot on the table because we don't necessarily go after some of those lower wholesale fees as much as we did in the beginning. But what we found is if we can make 75% of what we would on a flip in just wholesaling in a matter of weeks or 10 days, then we're going to do that. I think it might be different too, because we've had some contractor issues over time where we don't have a full-time contractor that we have to keep on a project. And, if we were doing that, we might consider flipping some of those properties instead of wholesaling them. But when you're not having to support a contractor and keeping him loyal to you, it just makes a lot more sense for us right now because of how crazy the prices are to just flip them to another investor that maybe has that in-house contractor. And
it makes a ton of sense, and I like the flips a lot. So that's part of the reason. And with just the deals, like it just makes more sense. Like, do I want 5K now, or do I want to wait a couple months to get, 30K?
Right.
And typically it's like, I'll just wait a little bit. Right. But that's good to hear. 30K for a wholesale fee. That's really good. So what's your volume if you're like comfortable sharing?
We've got 24 deals this year that includes we track all of our deals together. So that includes the retail deals, that includes the wholesale and buy and hold ones that we have. So we're not a super big volume wholesaler, not compared to a lot of these other people. That's kind of the reason we join masterminds and that kind of stuff to help us get that momentum going. And all of our mentors say that we could increase our volume a lot if we'd be a little bit less conservative with our numbers.
That's not we. That's me. JD.
Yeah, that's right.
Which is true. I mean, because you can, like, even for me, like I can do a lot more deals if my minimum was 20K,
Sure.
But then it's like all that extra hassle and some of these deals might turn negative. Like I've never had a loss on a deal, believe it or not. I've only broke even once, and I was kind of tight. I was like, plus or minus 500, but I've never, lost money. I don't plan to, I'd prefer to keep it that way. So that's part of it. So I'm starting to see more like there's value to volume. There's value to volume for sure, but it's also nice to not have to be chasing that next deal.
For sure. What does your team look like? What are you doing? Can you tell us about it? How that whole structure looks in your company?
So it's pretty lean. So it's me, a project manager, and an assistant, and that's pretty much it. And we just do it that way. And then, if right now I've kind of turned off the cold calling because I've got plenty of deals. I'm just trying to digest them all. We might hire a VA for the cold calling. When I started, I used to do the cold calling myself, and then now, it just makes more sense to hire it out. Absolutely.
The amount of work you can get done while you're sitting there getting hung up and yelled at is kind of,
that was it. But sometimes it got crazy with my schedule. Like there's best times to call for these leads. So it's like 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., 11 a.m. to 1 p.m., 4 p.m. to 6 p.m. Those are like the best times to call because most people are most available. They're either getting off work, they're at lunch, they're getting on to work. So that's why I've seen like there's best times. And sometimes it happened like I was busy or I have to do something during that time. It's like, well, I guess I'm not cold calling today. But if you have someone dedicated to that, like that, just make sure you get those leads in. I'd rather get one lead in today for sure than, 2 leads maybe because I'm, maybe busy or tied up.
Yeah. So how many flips are you guys, you and your project manager and assistant, able to manage simultaneously, like all at one time? What does that look like?
Yeah. So I think we're still testing out those numbers on like what's our limit. I think recently, and I just sold one last week, but our max was like 18 at a time. And that's 18, total, right? And so previously of those 7 were under contract, like to sell. Some of which were, actively going renovation. A couple had we're waiting for the tenant to leave, waiting for the seller to leave. So we're kind of playing around with those numbers. We're kind of playing around with like contractors and that sort of thing because there's a bit of a shortage. Like it's kind of hard to get people out there. Or they're like, yeah, I can do it, but it's going to be in a month. So we're just trying to, be creative and get the work done as much as possible. But yeah, I think 18 is our max at a time. We can probably handle some more, but it's not like there's a huge push to do more.
Yeah. Okay. So the reason I asked that is one of the things that you'd mentioned in the beginning was that when you started, you didn't know how to start investing with real estate with no money. So now you've got 18 projects going, or that's what you could. You have multiple projects going every day. How are you dealing with funding those projects, cash flow management, making sure your contractors are paid, doing their work? What does that side look like?
Mm-hmm. So there's a lot of different ways. Like I do the deals, like I do private money. Sometimes I do like a money partner is what I call it, and do a hard money. Mm-hmm. Money partners, like they put in all the money and then we split the profit. So they put in the money to buy it, to renovate, to sell it. And I basically manage it. I find the deal. So we split the profit that way. Because there's no way, like if I was just using my own funds, especially with where I start out, I basically started out at zero, 3 years ago. Like there's no way I'd be doing this many deals.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I still do partner deals. I'm slowly transitioning to do more of my own deals as well. So just kept busy that way. But that's pretty much what I'm, doing. It just depends on the deal, depends on where I'm at. Sometimes if I'm flush with cash, I'll be more likely to do my own deal. If I'm low, then I'm more likely to partner. So it just depends on a lot of variables, but you do have to get creative and know the basics of finance and lending and all that stuff, especially if you want to start to do volume. Like if you want to use cash for every single flip, that's fine, but you're going to be pretty limited to how many you can do a year.
Well, yeah, even if you had a $1 million in your bank account, mm-hmm. you're still, you're acquiring them, you're putting in all the money for the rehab, and then you're waiting for it to sell. So you can do, a handful of houses depending on your average price point. But if you say it's $250,000, you can pick them up for 100, put 100 into them, and then you get that $50,000 profit. You can do 8 deals essentially without being super strapped. And that's not, counting all of the unexpected expenses that pop up and the extra long hold times and everything like that. I think it's important when we're talking about doing any type of real estate investing, but especially fix and flip, that you pay attention to your cash flow management, because you don't ever want to be in the middle of a flip and run out of money because you bought this hot deal that you just couldn't pass up. You bought it with your own cash, and now you can't finish the rehab that's going to get you the money to finish the next one.
Spot on. That's happened to me like 2 years ago. I got really aggressive and I was like, this is great, got a deal. And it got down to it where it's like, hey, this deal has to, like I was selling a property, like this deal has to sell or else I'm just totally screwed. Like I'm totally screwed. Like people are waiting on money, so that happened, a couple of years in the past, but as you do more deals and you earn more, like you'll have more of a cash buffer, if that makes sense.
Well, and that's a really bad position to be in for a couple of reasons, but mainly because now you're operating out of a position of weakness. Mm-hmm. And now somebody comes in, gives you an offer that you're not really happy with, but maybe is right there towards your minimum criteria, and you got to accept it, right? Instead of holding out maybe a week longer to get $10,000 more or whatever, it just really puts you in and can start a downward spiral. I think that's more of a problem that the newer investors run into. You've gone through it, right? So not to allow that to happen. And the more that you're doing these deals and working through this process, the more your friends and family and other people, business associates, see you crushing it. And then that's when they start to give you their money to make money.
Mm-hmm. So that definitely helps. But yeah, just thinking through it. And I think what's also helpful is just thinking through like where your money's going to be. It's not only, this is a mistake a lot of beginners, including myself, made. It's like, hey, I have 20,000 in the bank, or I have 50,000 in the bank, or I have 200,000 in the bank. I'm rich. I'm totally good. Like there's nothing bad that can happen. But maybe you do another deal, or you have to take care of some renovations, and suddenly like you're really cash poor, and then suddenly you're panicking. So I recommend for your listeners, like there's a lot of value in like yes, the budget, but it's like thinking through where your money's gonna be over time. So if you start out at 100,000, like, hey, I have 50,000 renovations I'm going to be paying out of my pocket. Just know sometime in the future you can figure it out like week by week where you're going to be. Like I'm going to be down to 50,000, so I shouldn't be buying something, and I have to put in 60,000 within that time frame. So that's helped me out a ton, just thinking through like where my cash is going to be, kind of projecting it. It's not going to be perfect, but at least kind of project where you're going to be cash wise in the future. So just so you get that home run deal in the future, it's not like, oh shoot, I can't do it. But you know what you can or can't do, because I've been there. There's a lot of like sleepless nights, like you got $100 in your bank account,
Right.
Yeah.
this has to close, I can't wait for that, whatever rehab draw to hit, whatever.
Right. Yeah, I can appreciate that. So are you licensed? Do you use agents in the area to sell your flips? Are you selling them yourself? What does that disposition of your finished product look like?
Yeah, so I'm not an agent. I typically list it myself just through like flat fee, as I've seen a lot of success with that, like flatfee.com. So basically what it is, you pay a fee, and then they throw it up on MLS, which hits Zillow, which hits Realtor.com. It goes on all the websites, so it's everywhere. But you handle documentation, you handle showings, you handle negotiation. Basically, this flat fee service just throws it up everywhere, and you handle the rest. I've saved a ton of money that way. You save like 3%. I've saved 3% on every transaction, which has been fantastic. I need to run the numbers again. Last time I ran it, I've saved $119,000, just being able to list it myself.
That's awesome.
Yeah. And I don't list it for sale by owner. It's, it's kind of this, it looks like, it looks like I'm an agent. So I think that number is probably like 150 by now.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, that pays for a lot of marketing, that pays for a lot of rehab, that pays for a lot of dinners, just being able to do that. And I would say, for somebody who's experienced and gone through the process a few times, that's a great way to do it. If you're doing your very, very first flip, I would say that's probably not the way that I would recommend it. Just if you haven't ever bought your own house, you're probably going to want to bring on an expert to help you finish the property. But if you're working on your fourth or fifth, sixth flip, and you got the time and energy to handle all of those extra things that you're not getting, it's a great way to save money.
Yeah.
I agree. And especially like once you're, doing your next deal, you'll start to understand the documentation, understand the paperwork, understand the process. So that's when it makes a ton of sense to transfer over and do it that way. Like, it doesn't really make sense for your first one. It's kind of 50-50, but that's a personal decision. But I agree with you. Like, over time, you'll start to get it. And no offense to any realtors, but they kind of become less valuable, because if you know as much as them, then what are they in for?
Yeah, I agree completely. I hate Melissa's an agent.
I know. Yeah, she has the EXP jacket.
Go EXP. Yeah. He hates all agents but me.
Yeah, that's right. That is true. For the same reason that you just mentioned. And really, I don't hate the agents. I just think that a lot of them come on and say that they're investor friendly, but really they're not looking out for the investors in the way that they should, because especially with buyer's agents, if you don't find the right one, their interests are not aligned with my interest, right? Their interest is benefited by selling me a house that's higher price than, and they're not aligned to negotiate it down. Now, when you're selling a house, everybody's on the same page, and we want as high as we can and everything like that. So there's value to real estate agents. I just think you have to find and build a good relationship with one that still provides you value, even if you understand how to pull your own comps and analyze the market and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Cleaning that up.
Sorry. That's all right. Well, if we were trying to send some of our listeners to find out more about you or see what you have to offer, where could we send them?
Yeah, for sure. So I fix and flip houses full time. I also mentor people, like how to get your first fix and flip, how to get to 6 figures flipping houses. So if folks want to connect, they can find me. I'm most active on Facebook. So look at Viktor Jiracek. I also have a free
Can you
Facebook
spell Jiracek real quick for him?
Sure. Jiracek. So if you look me up, again, it's a unique name. So luckily you'll find me. And then I have a free Facebook group, 6 Figure House Flipper. So if folks want to, reach out to me there as well, or join the free Facebook group. I post and I share deals and like, hey, this is, avoid this, and tips and tricks and resources. So folks can join there as well.
That's awesome. Well, we really appreciate you coming on the show today.
Yeah.
And I hope that if we pick anything up in Gainesville, we can send it your way.
Yeah, please. I'm always buying, and, we're always looking. And especially with you guys getting such, fat spreads, like, send it over.
Yeah.
We'll make it work.
But we're going to expand into Gainesville. Our goal this year was Pensacola. And so we've done that. So we definitely, that's on our radar. So So we'd like to bring you some deals for sure.
Yeah, definitely.
For sure. I think the final thing there is like, wholesalers and like flippers can work together. Like we're not competing. Like I know technically there's a set amount of deals, but like if you bring me a deal, I'm happy because I don't have to, spend marketing money. It just, I don't have to spend time on it. So especially that, because a lot of people see that relationship is like antagonistic or like combative. I see this cooperative, like you bring me deals, great. We can, if I make money, you make money, and everyone can win. So I welcome you into the market. I can help you guys out, help you guys analyze deals. Hey, this is a good neighborhood. Don't do this neighborhood.
Yeah, that's awesome. That would be great.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But thank you so much for taking time out of your day for us. We appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Have a good one.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Jam. We hope you enjoyed today's episode. For more information, check out our website, therealestatejam.com, or find us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at The Real Estate Jam. If you have any questions, feel free to drop us an email at therealestatejam@gmail.com. See you next episode.